data centers are going to be the new industrial revolution, which is going to affect climatically, which is going to affect environmentally, it is going to affect as a carbon footprint, it is going to affect every community, also in terms of energy efficiency and so on and so forth, all because we are becoming more and more data. For everything we need data.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the last episode in the series of 30 Years of the Internet in the podcast called Edge. This podcast is brought to you by Museum of Digital Society in collaboration with Digital Empowerment Foundation. And over the last 4 episodes, we've been chronicling the journey of the internet economy in India and also talking to Sama Manzar about what it means to be a digital citizen. In the last episode, it's very interesting when we were ideating on how to kind of, implement this episode. We wanted to do it in 4 major ways, but we finally realized that it's very important to then chronicle the years between 2015 to this year, 2025, in terms of pre-COVID and post-COVID. In these 10 years, what we realized was that the entire world shifted and suffered at the same level in some way because of COVID-19. And, in the work that DEF is doing at the grassroots level, the things that we were hearing, the world really bifurcated as a digital economy completely. So in this episode, we're going to focus on the pre-COVID and the post-COVID and go back to Mr. Manzar and understand what was happening during that time. Thank you for joining us for the last episode.
Mr. Manzar. Yeah.
I got a little awkward. I didn't know how to call you. Okay, so the first question I want to ask you before we start talking about COVID is that during this time, during 2015 to 2020, there was a shift that we were seeing in rural communities coming on WhatsApp. They suddenly realized the potential of WhatsApp. They were using it as a business place. They were using it to connect to people. They were using it as a channel of consuming a lot of information. And they also realized that WhatsApp is a great medium to stay connected within communities in their area too. So when this shift was happening on WhatsApp and, right before COVID, we realized that misinformation was already kind of booming in the rural areas. It was not based on health as much, but it was based on finances. It was based on their social identity. It was based in a way where, misinformation was coming about elections. In that era, when the shift was happening finally for the rural communities to come online and become digital, what was the trend that you saw?
Okay, so I would certainly say that a combination of data availability, mobile in the hands, and mobile as a device, mobile as an affordable device, and WhatsApp as a medium of conversation and messaging, and almost like replacing the entire combination of mails and suites, presentation to visual to documentation to everything. So in a way, WhatsApp actually brought meaning into connectivity for those who couldn't do, even though the connectivity was available, right? And therefore, for DEF, it was a very exciting time. By early 2000s, 2010s, and mid 2000s, is like that was the time when there was a boom coming in, like a rocket coming into the lives of rural, because it allowed them to do the data on the basis of data, not on the basis of just connectivity. So they could speak through mobile, they could write through mobile, they could copy and paste and send through mobile. So all these things were happening. Actually, WhatsApp actually created a scenario of community building and community-based communication without learning digital language. Right?
Yeah.
Without learning digital language. And the reason I say digital language is because digital language was as good as English language. Digital language was as good as textual language and all that. But this basically oralized all the language based communication into a oral communication. So people could just voice and send a message. People could just video and send a message. People could just photo and send a document, or if they can't do it, so this was basically became a phenomena. And for the educated people and for the bureaucrats and for the offices, they started using it for monitoring and evaluation for their projects, because it's so easy. Because the reason is that the person from whom you want report, for them language is not a barrier, so they will just copy all the things and all the happenings and send it. So you are basically doing. So this was a very big phenomena, but maybe I will talk more. It also gradually became a tool for misinformation. Gradually, because it allowed people to forward, it allowed people to create new content, it allowed people to create misinformation so easily and spread it. And there is a human nature. If I say some story about, if I am telling you some story about someone, I become a hero. That story doesn't become a hero. The storyteller becomes a hero.
The messenger.
Right, the messenger. So in WhatsApp also, every message that you forward, you are the creator of that content in the eyes of the person who is receiving it. Right? And you are not an authenticator, so then how can you be a creator or something, or forward the message? And that became a huge problem, but we will talk about it more. But in terms of empowerment, in terms of reach of digital, in terms of enabling ability among the people of rural India, this was a great thing that happened, and it certainly became much more popular. It is still one of the most popular thing. Also because it's a private message, which is actually not a private. It's hyper local community messaging system. And that's the reason why it has so much of evil inside it, which is unchecked. The goodness doesn't need to be talked about as much as what you are using it for your bad intentions or something like that. So that was one. And the second thing, I would say that this was also a time of last mile connectivity, and on the sideline we were talking about community networks, how it was enabling DEF to go to those locations which is where nobody had gone. So this was also a time of large scale deployment of last mile connectivity beyond telco's reach. I must say, even though Jio had come, and we had to replace many of our last mile connectivity up to the district level, because they had reached there very, very comfortably. And of course, they were much more easy to function, and good data, number of data allowed to consume and communicate with. So we started going deeper and deeper, and that is how the story started becoming much more. I would like to tell at least two stories that is very, very fascinating. One is that there is this Agaria community. Agaria means the community which actually farms salt in Gujarat, in the Little Run of Kutch. And Little Run of Kutch is hundreds of kilometers of barren land at the coast of the sea, which becomes a sea of salt, and that's how you do the farming. So the people who do farming is called Agarias. They are the indigenous communities. And why it is very interesting is that even since independence, they have not been considered in census. Ever.
Wow.
They are not part of the census, and they still live. They are part of India. They are part of everything. That entire area becomes 6 months watered, 6 months dry. And it's a salt desert, you can say. And so 6 months people go and live in that salt pan area and the salt area, and 6 months they live at the periphery in the village. So they have two houses where they have to live. So every year their houses get broken in the sea, because as the water comes, it gets broken. And every time they go, they build the house again and again and again, whatever house, that little house, where they put pumpings, machines, there, all those kind of salt pan and all those things. They produce almost 75% of the salt of the country, and they are not taken care of. They are not even numbered. They are not even considered, and all that. So we got a chance to do a Wi-Fi of that area. And that was extremely fascinating, because we mounted Wi-Fi dish antenna on a vehicle, and then we found out 6 points or 5 points across the desert where the vehicle will go, and put the dish antenna towards the line of sight where we had already built. It was a police station in one of the locations where we had put in the internet. So that will catch internet from here, and then the children will gather there and see on the TV and play with the tablets and all that. So there is a lot of article written on this one. So that was very, very fascinating. The reason why is that fascinating is because, think about it, so many agarias spread across hundreds of kilometers of desert. They themselves to each other can't communicate. The motorcycle they use is not numbered. They buy it from the scrap, and it's not numbered they use, but they have to travel. So they use mirror to reflect to each other that we need your help.
Oh my God.
As a messaging tool.
Wow.
So therefore, connecting them, and especially they were more concerned about their children, because 6 months their children just out of the education system. So government had given them some spaces somewhere to have a school, but in desert, how can you run a school or something? So our vehicle became a school once every week in one location, another day in another location, another day in another location. I feel extremely sorry that we couldn't sustain the project for a very long time because of the lack of funding. But that was one of the most fascinating projects that we did. Another very fascinating thing in terms of last mile connectivity is that how do you know your community? What are they thinking? And I remember we had a person, Sharda Kerkar, who was working with us, and she was doing indigenous community teaching. And she came back and wrote a book called Digital Safarnama. And in that, many of those indigenous community, they said that when we saw the computer first time, we thought that when I touch the key, it will pass on current in my hand. Somebody said that it will get broken. Somebody said that, so there was so much of fear of not knowing something, somebody said that, if I click something will reflect. I don't know what will it be, because for them it was like a magic box. And how do you deal with it, So we still have that kind of community here. And in the middle of this, we got a very good opportunity to build on, which we can talk a little later about. DPI is the Smartpur project. We got a project from Nokia. They funded for 5 years. Smartpur is the name that we coined, and it still has our trademark. Smartpur is the destination of a Smartpur as a village, a smart as a village, a village is smart. But so we did one connectivity base at one, and then we did the 5 or 6 or 10 connectivity on the other side. So it's a hub and a spoke model in the areas where there was no connectivity. So there was Nu here we did, there was Barabanki in UP we did, there is Ghazipur in UP we did, there is a place in Kanchipuram we did, then there is Kollegal in Karnataka we did, in the jungles where the Virappan was very famous from. Then many other places we did, which is all the places which was completely in control. It is like today's intranet. So, and it's still internet. So you have your own connectivity area, and you have that project. Actually, Smartpur got several awards, and WSIS award and all that award, and it became also recognized by government and all that. And it's also now being researched that how this model can be adopted for creating digital public infrastructure at the last mile. So these are some of the things that I would say that in that 5 years, from 2015 to 20, we were going. And I must say that was the period where the social media boom had taken over our lives, so much so that those who were not connected is also affected.
Yeah.
It's something like some message comes on WhatsApp in a family member who has got a smartphone. That is affecting the whole village, because you are getting to know something, even if and the more misinformation it is, the more spread it is, and so social media was now at this point of time gradually becoming a tool of in one sentence, defaming social media altogether, or social media as a den of evil, almost like going into debt. It's something like saying that there is a chalk around your city, and where you go and hang out, and then gradually it becomes so popular, and then gradually it becomes a lumpen place of lumpens, and then you have to walk out. There is no literary discussion, there is no good discussion, there is no sane discussion, there is no understandable discussion, only gali galaj, it's not nurturing space. So it's very sad that at this point of time, and we even now in 2025, I would say that now social media is not, that's the reason why you would say this is the time when people had started leaving social media, Facebook, and started gradually going towards Instagram and all that. You also must have seen that you had started dropping yourself from Twitter. It was earlier Twitter we used to go to get news, because it was mostly the place of information that the journalists were actually driving. Then they themselves started indulging, competing with each other, and then becoming they actually converted journalism as a polarized journalism, So either you are with this person or that person. So, Twitter was also becoming a very, very insane place to be. So at this point of time, social media started feeding garbage in the minds of the people.
So I think here, before we move on to post-COVID, I think one more thing that I want to ask you is that during this time, because WhatsApp had become so popular, and not just as a national tool of communication, but international, right? What they started doing was they started adding a little bit of these markers in our WhatsApp. Like, for example, now they say that all of your chats are encrypted. But back then they had started toggling with things like they would share a piece of information that would then say forwarded, right? Or they would say that these little things that they started, acting out on WhatsApp with. I read somewhere that you guys were one of the few organizations that they had consulted because you had such a strong work at the grassroots level. So when WhatsApp was internally thinking and making policy decisions on this and actually changing the way that people consume WhatsApp, what was the kind of recommendation that you gave them? And where was it? Was it coming from the work that you were doing and understanding the ecosystem of misinformation?
So WhatsApp, when they first came to India with a good senior officers, and WhatsApp started looking at itself not as a internal office of Facebook. That is when they reached out to us, and we started working with them. We did our first research where rural India, what's up? There is a research on that. They also wanted to know how the rural India is consuming WhatsApp and what they are thinking, what they are expecting. And we had told them that WhatsApp at that point of time was the first medium for rural India to access news. I mean, guess what? Because they are all oral. They, in any case, were not reading newspapers. It was not reachable. Radio is almost dead for the rural population, and TV was, inaccessible, or you still have to buy, or you have to be in one place to watch and all that. While you are moving, WhatsApp became the first medium that became a news bulletin board for the rural India. So anything that is coming there was becoming viral for the local people, from the person who has a WhatsApp access, let's say. So it was good of WhatsApp that asked us that to figure out what is happening and all that. We did some campaign also. We did a long training with the support from WhatsApp for fighting misinformation, actually.
At that time?
Yes.
Wow.
And with the help of police department.
Okay.
Yeah, in each districts and all that, we started from Bihar and many other places. We went up to Assam to conduct the training. And at that point of time, it came out that forwarding was becoming one of the biggest tool. Actually, I had written a whole piece on this one, the digital language or lingua franca of a digital world, which is more figurative, which is symbol based, which is image based, and all that, and how forwarding is actually a whole phenomena of being considered as a content writer and all that. And so the forwarding was becoming one of the biggest problem. And I think one of the changes in the policy, they restricted the forwarding. And we were laughing sitting in the office that, oh, they have implemented it. So not that they didn't know, but they took many recommendations very seriously. They implemented it. Like privacy, like privacy, they have implemented very strongly that even they cannot see the end-to-end encryption. And they haven't budged, even though the government has been pressurizing them, because it is the political parties who use WhatsApp as a tool of misinformation or polarization, and even and more officially, I would say, surveillance. And they use. So it's very interesting that while it is a mass media, I think WhatsApp is truly a mass media, modern mass media, and or a symbol of mass media, because many of our awardees use WhatsApp as a newspaper every morning, and they have got award for this. One person was, we were talking on another video day before yesterday, is how they have a 65,000 or some subscription of Rajasthan, digital Rajasthan, that one of our Suchnapreneur have started. And they do it. So a lot of people do it for good reasons. But having said that, we cannot really discard the fact that in general, the reach on WhatsApp and the reach of mobile and the connectivity at this point of time and continues to create more bad than good.
Yeah. I think here it's kind of time to dive into the bad even more. But 2019 happened, and before 2019, people still had a choice a little bit. They were still more informed about the way they were coming online. It was still consent based. I could be a conscious citizen and say that, okay, I want to be on WhatsApp. Otherwise, for at least urban elites, the option existed of then switching to Signal or Telegram or something. But in 2019, COVID happened, and suddenly the entire world shifted online because all of us had to stay indoors. And when your physical manifestation, like when the bodily manifestation of you physically going out is restricted, then everybody started thinking of themselves as digital citizens. And this was without consent. It just had to happen because now COVID-19 has happened and you're under lockdown. So during this time, there must have been a lot of turbulence, considering that India was still struggling with, their public infrastructure when it came to digital. Generally, also, the hospitals were failing. We saw a lot of bad news coming in, but also a lot of misinformation now, because this was a health emergency. It was almost a crisis. And during that time, UNESCO had announced that misinformation is an epidemic during the pandemic of COVID-19. So I just wanted to pick your brain and understand, during that time when everybody was forced to be digital, what were the repercussions that you were seeing because you were working on the ground?
So, COVID was a watershed moment for many ways, for many people. For us, it was a moment of laugh and sarcasm. And for us, it was also a moment of planning ourselves for the next decade post-COVID. So I have 4 things in bullet points. One is that COVID taught us that it took about 20 years or 25 years for the people to realize that digital divide is an issue, for which we have been talking from day one.
Yeah.
You must have seen, you were already adult enough to realize that is when people started talking digital divide.
Yeah.
Because when you are homebound, you are, the only thing dependent was the online, and then you see, oh my God, there are so many people who are excluded as far as online is concerned.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we have been talking since 1995, and then 2000 and 2002 when DEF was created. So that was the vindication of our work that we were doing. The second thing, the biggest challenge for us was, again here also, is that the whole world was worried about how do we be confined and yet served.
Yeah.
Right? For us was the same thing, but rural India, who are not fully connected, how do you serve them while they are still asked to be homebound?
Yeah.
And that is when we recreated the whole thing, that we had already reached more than 1,000 of locations in Suchnapreneurs. We converted overnight all our Suchnapreneurs as COVID warriors, digital COVID warriors.
Yeah.
And we created a whole plan of emergency fund and emergency launch of this one. There is a name that we have for that, digital COVID emergency. CDERP, COVID-19
emergency.
Digital Emergency Response or something.
Yeah.
So we launched, and we got local passes given to each one of the Suchnapreneurs that they can move around, because not everybody can move around. And then we realized that how powerful it was, because they could go to door to door to give them ration. They could go door to door to give them help. They could go to door to swipe their thing and on biometric and withdraw money and give to them and things like that, right? So there are a lot of, and that was the real deep social work. They also, most of the Suchnapreneurs, they started collecting local fund to help even the poorest among them. Right? So that was one big thing, and thankfully many people gave us fund to do this, and that fund went to more charitable organization, much more than what we perhaps could have delivered. But our cadre became the deliverers, you know. So we didn't have to really create a scenario of this, and then we were doing rural where nobody else was doing. And that was beautiful moment, very, very fulfilling moment. And the whole office who had gone online were more worked up. I still remember that we said that for the next 3 months we will not be able to give you salary, but it was just 1 month that we gave half salary, but we never stopped. At that time we also got a project from UNICEF for the misinformation. And that's the third thing I want to say. COVID was not as bad as the misinformation around COVID. Like you said, it was an epidemic of misinformation which actually built upon it. And the entire Indian media and TV media became villain in that time against many communities. So this was very interesting at that time, is that for the people who are suffering, what information they should rely on, how they do rely on. They are migrating in millions from one location to other and all that. What do they rely on? At that time, information is the gold standard that was required. And that was the biggest suffering that had happened. And at that time, we also did an ethnographic study by Abner, who traveled all over the country to go and meet those people who migrated from cities to the villages. What is their condition? And if you watch that film, you feel like crying all the time. And there, of course, everybody knows what happened in COVID, especially in India. So in India, it was not only COVID as an epidemic, but misinformation as an epidemic, which actually killed us more than the health epidemic that did. We did several research at that point of time. I'm sure this video can also show you on the screen how misinformation, actually health misinformation, affected our society. Then there was at that time there was a CA and RC agitation. How at that time also misinformation actually affected people, and there is a study on that also. Then there is a study that we did, that how alternative media was very helpful in terms of fighting misinformation at the time of farmers agitation, because all these three happened together around COVID time.
Because we're talking about about misinformation, I think one thing that I would also like to and understand from you at that time is that people were starting to finally talk about how misinformation is different from a piece of information that is meant to harm someone.
Yes, yeah, that
which
is
is
disinformation.
And then they were starting to talk about malinformation, which is
Yes,
created
yes,
with
yeah,
an
yeah,
intent to harm someone.
yeah.
So when all of this was happening globally, there were still people who were very, very reliant on any information that they get, particularly on their social media platforms, as the right information, because that functional digital literacy or that critical thinking was absent. So when you were doing this work, and one thing that I want to add here is that I think immediately after I joined your organization, I was going through the programs that you guys ran, and RCC, the program that you did with UNICEF. One of the ways that you disseminated the correct information was through wall painting. And I realized that even though you are a digital organization, most of the work that happens is non-digital. So why is that non-digital work so important is what I want you to highlight.
So if you see, digital is a format which is extremely good in spreading misinformation without accountability.
Yeah.
Right? But anything that you do handwrite, anywhere you do, you will find very difficult that it has the same level of virality, and it is the same level of misinformation and pass on without accountability. Somebody will catch you.
Yeah.
And so we were never devoid. We are not a technology. We call ourselves Digital Empowerment Foundation, empowering people at the edge of information, right? That means we are not 100% dependent on digital, but we are more on empowerment, right? And empowerment is a very holistic word from that you enable for empowerment. You also do not become charitable in empowerment. You become holistic so that you empower and you leave and go. You don't have to be there all the time. But having said that, what you are saying is that we do a lot of things like last mile. This Sushnapreneur, the person who is a person who use digital to provide service and information to the people, is a tool of trust.
Yeah.
Right? Writing on a wall is a tool of trust. You can't just anybody, because everybody is coming and watching. It's written. Whoever is writing is also being identified as who has written it, right? So there is a lot of accountability that is taking place. Not only that, we tried so many things. We sent information from here to our Sushnapreneurs at the time of the COVID that you have to disseminate. You know what people did? They took out their cassette recorder or a mic, they attached in their cycle, they connected their phone with a Bluetooth to that speaker, and they started playing and cycling around the village. They themselves did it.
They innovated.
Then they collected all the WhatsApp group. Another example, they collected WhatsApp number from all the people in the villages, and they started collecting them in one place, defying the logic of meeting. You cannot be ignorant, but quietly, and tell them what to do, what not to do. So you also help your neighbors and everything, So there are so many innovation they did. They used tuck, and, people coming on the door, and then they are telling them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and things like that. So it was also very good because you need physical in the middle of digital to create trust. That's very, very important. Most of the misinformation is so abstract because there is nobody knows who is the originator of that information, and it's so difficult to track in a privacy driven society, or the requirement. So COVID taught us one more thing, that this also told us that who could easily be integrated into the digital connectivity ecosystem. Then we started realizing who is even now much more remote. And then we realized, oh my God, our indigenous community, and let's say tea garden community in Assam and and the north of West Bengal as a state, and many other places are so remote that how do we reach to them, And I have more stories to share about that. One is that how we went Totopara, which is only 1,500 people left of the Toto language speaking, and on the border of Bhutan, how we connected them, by community networks. We went to tea garden of Assam post-COVID, and realized that For them, they are alienated since independence, ever since not independence, since Britishers took them from various parts of the country and took them to the tea garden and used them as a bonded labor. And now they are not a bonded labor, but they are as good as bonded labor because they are just secluded in that tea garden. That's it. They don't know the world outside. So we started connecting them. We have so far connected 150 tea gardens through community networks.
You were also working with farmers at that time, right?
We were working with farmers only through Sushnapreneurs. There was no separate project or program to work with the farmers, But we realized that farming community is one of the largest big community, about 250 million farming community in India. That certainly should be addressed, but we are still not addressing them directly, but mostly through Sushnapreneurs. Kri Sarthak is a project, we can talk about it. That is a model that we created to target about 250,000 farmers in Assam. 250,000 farmers in Assam through technology in terms of financial literacy and financial functional literacy, so that they can manage their finances well. And that's a model that is actually called financial counseling and not really just financial and functional literacy. So the counseling word, how do you bring in the lives of rural population, especially the farmers, because farmers is at the end of it a person who is a producer who has to sell products. So if they have a source of finance and how do they manage is very important. And this model was implemented in Assam successfully. We hope to do this all across the country. This was done with Assam government as well as World Bank. So certainly scalable, and we should work, but every state has to agree that how do you use digital tools to some level and counseling tool to some level and human tool to some level to empower farming community.
Okay. So I think we've already kind of talked about how different communities that are missing from the narrative are the ones who were suffering so much at that time. But I also wanted to, bring in one thing that I was seeing as someone who is in her late 20s during COVID. I realized that our dependency on digital was increasing a lot more during COVID. Like, for example, if I had to go anywhere from point A to B, even to buy medicines or to take my mother to the hospital, and my mom at that time was working in a hospital, right? So every day she would have to make a journey from home to the hospital because she was one of the gig workers. I realized that the dependency on Uber or Ola or the gig economy was increasing very heavily. And at that time, the gig economy was going through massive protests because of the way that they were discriminated, the way that the apps were usually keeping most of the profit. At that time, you guys had done something with the Rajasthan government. So I just want to understand that what took you to the gig economy, because this was an issue that was highlighted only during COVID.
So COVID was a time which actually gave two phenomena very big. One is platformization and and of course the subset is gig economy, but platformization is the means of creating a gig economy and the gig workers. And even at that time, I was not very strongly thinking in those direction, but thinking that how a platform is making direct contact with the consumers, and avoiding middleman. And I was just learning that, oh my God, they may be replacing middlemen, but they are becoming the biggest middlemen. And rather than several middlemen, there is one, is like oligarch middleman who is actually controlling not only the drivers, but customers also, and the vehicles also, and through the data. And that is when we started talking about. So I have two things to say. One is that gig economy is one area that we cannot get rid of. Platformization is one area that we cannot get rid of. But I want to tell how it is going to create a bring back the industrial era once again, and slavery also once again.
Yeah.
And therefore it cannot be seen as a small problem. It's going to be very, very big problem, because it on one side it increases the centrality, and it decreases decentralization, and it increases the power at one point and decreases the power of a consumer on the other side, and so much so that you also lose your citizenry on the second side. So there was a whole movement in Rajasthan with MKSS, with many other organizations, and we participated together, that how government takes up the Rona Dhona, the grievances of the drivers, let's say, or gig workers, let's say, and give them some security, which, to be very frank, I am not greatly in favor that why should, government should take care. If the company is using them, company should take care. But having said that, it questions, the framework actually, or the legislation actually takes care of the gig workers. But still, the biggest role is that there is a lack of transparency, there is a lack of accountability, there is a lack of freedom and everything in the gig working platformization based thing. Anything. Bad news is it's not only happening in the area of transportation, it's happening in the area of food delivery. Now it's also happening in the area of government services, like NREGA attendance has been completely given to the online attendance, although online attendance or attendance taking is a responsibility of the employer, not of the employee. If I have DEF has employed so many people, I have to create a situation where people can just put in their finger or something to mark their attendance. It is not their responsibility is to work. Their responsibility is to work. I am working. You have a problem that whether I am working or not, you go and, why are you making the responsibility of attendance on me, and then making me suffer, that first you prove that you are attending. I am attending. You have a problem that you can't take the attendance. So this entire thing of platformization getting into our life. Marriages is completely now platformized, so you are dating, and so many things are being platformized that they are collecting. Amazon is the biggest platform which takes all your data through just buying and selling, so literally you are platformizing our life, life choices, life likings, life's intentions, life's privacy and everything, just by these social and behavioral, capture of data, because every like is a social and behavioral input, Every not liking is also social and behavioral input, rejecting and everything. You like this, so therefore they are saying that, okay, you like this, you are buying this book, 100 more thousand is also bought this book. Oh my God. So that you suddenly feel, oh my God, really? Those so many people are buying? I must buy or something, So you get peer pressure that, okay, this book must be very good. That's why I'm buying. And therefore it goes on, and it is creating a whole thing. And I'll end my discussion on my biggest worry is that India is a country of MSMEs, micro and nano enterprises. We all grew up going to the local thela to buy banana or fruits, then maybe mungpali, groundnut or anything, any small little eatables. And, I can question whether they're clean or not clean or whatever, but you figure it out among yourself. This thela is clean, this is not clean, and you buy, right? And that person's livelihood is also there. Then there is everywhere there is a local, small little bazaar and market. Then there is a big heart. Then there is something else, right? There is a whole system of community-based trading and buying and selling mechanism. Now, what happening? Now, I myself, sitting at home, doing Blinkit. Now, and then, just few days back, I was thinking, oh my God, all these thelawalas at the gate of my colony has gone. They are not there. because the supplier of all those things is in another building block who is giving to these bike wallas, and they are going and delivering, so it's certainly giving you ease, but it killed so many nano entrepreneurs, so many. Of course, you can say that, I was arguing this, that somebody was saying that they may have killed the entrepreneurs, but they have not killed livelihood, because they are also giving job to those people to deliver. But, all the slaves also get livelihood.
It's a cycle of discrimination.
No, and all the slaves get livelihood. They get paid. But how? They are exploited. They have no other job. That's the only thing they can do. But in a small, micro, nano, major, medium, small, any level, their entrepreneurship is actually creates a independent way of doing and helping community service. And there is a layered entrepreneurship. So you do, when you are doing very big, you go to a stock market. You do lesser, you don't go to a stock market. You do even lesser, even lesser, even lesser, even lesser. But this actually doesn't break the community, right? Platformization is actually breaking the community on one side. In any case, urbanization has been breaking the communities and the societies. Now on over and over, that platformization is breaking the community and society and converting all the people as consumer and bots. So we are just data points.
I think one thing here that I want to pick your brain on is also that you living in an urban area said that now the hawkers who used to come outside a building are not coming anymore because everybody is blanketing everything. But one thing that really, really then affects a community functioning is also the fact that when something like this happens, there are always someone or some people who will get excluded. So if in your society there's a person with disability who would get access to that hawker, may not have digital literacy, may not have access to a phone, cannot blink it, is now not getting access to that hawker. So for that person with disability, mobility is not something that is accessible, but now he doesn't have access to services because this hawker is gone. So how does this this chain of dependency on platforms affect communities like the persons with disability communities, people who are not agile, or even the neurodivergent communities? How does that affect the ecosystem like that?
Listen, there can be many things where platformization might be doing something good. For example, let's say disabled person not getting served through that one, but disability might be serving them sitting there themselves without movement. That is a possibility. Entertainment being served to them on a screen or something like that, right? Many things. But the biggest problem is that breaking the community, right? Breaking the community. Even if you say that our community doesn't take care of, let's say, or the system doesn't take care of the people with disability, but if you break the community, who will take care? Machine cannot take care of the, or data or platform cannot take care of the people with disability. People with disability has to be taken care of in a very, very different way. Of course, technology by this machine having, is a very strong tool for visually impaired. It's a very strong tool for hearing impaired. It's a very strong tool for many, many people who are, because it gives you so many languages, so many ways of sending messages and all those things. Lots of things this gives one. But the point is it giving enough power to exercise your individuality? Your individuality, that is the most important part. It is actually the whole digitization process, platformization, and now even AI is gradually, all of them are converting people as a data point. That is the biggest issue that is happening. And now when we and you see how they change the jargon, and their constant call of call to help is that we are doing it all because of the people. It's all doing all because of the poor. It's doing all because of the social need and all that. It's so so evil in terms of they use the same tool to put the technology in your mouth is that this will ultimately help the poorest of the poor, it will social and all that, but if you go on the ground, it is not. So that is the reason I want to, at the end I am saying is that we are in a position where, empowering people at the edge of information for DEF, we are where we have a responsibility of empowering those who are not connected and empowering those who are hyper connected. Or because all the evils have started showing of being connected or fully connected, and now the new jargons are digital public infrastructure, AI enablement, AI for social good, or AI for this, data centers. So data centers are going to be the new industrial revolution, which is going to affect climatically, which is going to affect environmentally, it is going to affect as a carbon footprint, it is going to affect every community, also in terms of energy disefficiency and so on and so forth, all because we are becoming more and more data. For everything we need data, and therefore our biggest challenge for DEF is that how do we approach our life and community and society and everything more phygital, and that's the reason why we are trying to see that in this current revolution, we don't want to put our energy fighting anything. We want to do enabling in such a way that the role of human intelligence is not minimized, but the potential of digital is well harnessed, right? And that should be the mantra, and that must be the mantra. And the reason why I say that we are still in a good position is that we still have half the country of our country is not fully digitized and digitalized. So can we help those people to adopt digital and access in a saner manner, and have a beautiful stories of these things? And that's the reason why we also created Just AI Award. That's the reason why we have created Just AI division. That's the reason why we are increasing the number of Suchnapreneurs being the information trustee in each and every village of the country, and they become the gateway to the sane information or reliable information that they want. At the same time, we also know that the world is moving towards a more corporate-centric digital push, and the government is becoming more and more fascist and more authoritarian. So, and digital is helping them. So the challenge is not much. The biggest challenge is that how do we adopt digital to remain citizen and not become data point and consumers. And with that note, the challenge I think is much more humongous.
So I know that that sounds like an ending, but I want to kind of continue and ask you one last question, is that you talked about platformization and very rightly said that it was affecting the supply chain, and the supply chain has always been in a way frugal and rural, right? So when the platformization issue was affecting the rural communities, we didn't see a lot of hype about it. A lot of organizations were talking about it, but in a way talking about it through access to rights lens. But now AI is affecting the supply chain of the urban workers. The urban workers are the ones who are losing their jobs. Therefore, AI is becoming an issue. It's also becoming something that is being deeply integrated into all systems of functioning. Now, AI is the thing that, understands your web browsing. It's the one you're morphing your images with. It's the one where you're designing. It's the one where your workflow is going. So with this intense integration of AI in everyday systems, which is what we saw before with platformization, and then before that with the internet, where do you see the AI revolution kind of going? Do you see it being inclusive, which has always been the vision of the internet, or do you see it excluding even more?
I would say that, like the way digital divide has created from digital inclusion to digital exclusion, many ways, AI will do the same thing. Having said that, when the machine came, it looked like that machine is going to do all the work, but it didn't. Similarly, robot came and everybody thought that we will be without jobs, but it didn't happen. Then the software came and we thought that everybody will be dependent on software for automation. It didn't happen as much as we had thought. When everybody, we thought that paperless office or paperless work ecosystem will happen. Even till today, it has never happened. So AI may be promising a lot, but I don't think it will be able to replace so much of even urban work. I don't think so. But it might create more problem. To solve that, we might need more people. Yeah, that's what I would say. It will in the immediate future. It might say something like in COVID. COVID created a sense of that people can work from home. But then everybody started saying, I don't want to work from home. I don't want to live with family a whole day and working because there's so many. I need a separate working space. Even if I'm working from home, then I need a separate room. So that didn't minimize the real estate requirement. Actually, it actually rather started giving more options that yes, we can work as a matter of choice from anywhere, so we can work both. And that doesn't mean that we'll shut down all the offices and all that. So it will all happen that way. That will also create more jobs because now you can have a part-time jobs from anywhere. Earlier you wanted everybody to come and work from your office. Now you have hourly way of working or a half day of working or a part-time way of working with many people. So it will create things. I think what will happen is that AI is also going to increase the number of employment in the AI space, in the data entry space, in the data creation space, because AI is nothing but dependent on data, right? And gradually what will happen is that at the moment AI is completely dependent on stolen data, unreliable data, and that itself is creating a lot of buzz, right? Gradually what will happen, exactly like internet, we thought that when we are going internet, everything what we are reading there is gospel truth. But then now internet is the last place where people go for truth. Nobody wants to go there for truth. They go somewhere else to truth, or some place in internet for truth, right? Then everybody thought that social media will connect everyone, but actually it started disconnecting people, right? Then and then you realize that no, we need exit. Similarly, in AI, the data is without data you can't do. So for example, your entire social behavioral action noting down to create another akanksha, I need so much of data. Who will enter that? How will you enter that? So we need to processors for that. We need humans to do that. You have already started seeing that people are now collecting data on language training. That was not happening earlier. So then there will be so much of job of just data collection, data entry, data processing, data everything that has to be done at a raw level, that human is required to collect those data.
Got it.
Right? So I don't think that jobs and all those things or livelihood will be at a thing. The issue is much bigger, as I said, that AI is the first innovation in the human existence, where human itself has started saying that AI is better than HI or the human intelligence. That is the dangerous thing. That is a big danger. So it's the danger is not that less job, more job, few jobs and all that. The issue is much larger, much I would say existential.
Yeah, it's the Sisyphus conundrum.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I want to end with, we've been doing this for the last 4 episodes. This is the 5th one. And every time I say that this is brought to you by Museum of Digital Society, and we've created this buzz around it, but we've never explained it. And I know that DEF has started this huge initiative called the Museum of Digital Society. So I wanted you to talk to the people who are listening to us and tell them what MODS is.
Well, so what you all have heard for the last 25 years or 30 years of the story of internet in India, we are through the learnings of Digital Empowerment Foundation for the last 24 years, or even 25 years, even before DEF in as a legal entity. we have created a space which is actually called Museum of Digital Society in Pondicherry, and which is also being converted into virtually present online. But this is actually a place where you can come and experience and see, read the stories, learn the stories, learn. So it's 100 things, 100 things. If you want to know what is AI, you come and learn there. You want to know what is media information literacy, come in there. How to do last mile connectivity, come and learn there. You want to see how it was done, you come and see and watch movie, and and read the books. You come and want to do, you want to learn through workshop, you can come there. So it's a learning space, it's experiential space in physicality. It is very intentional to make it physical, not to forget that the real learning, real experience physically happens, even though you present it in written, in virtual, but being physical there is what it is. So Museum of Digital Society is the good, bad, and ugly of digital manifestation in a 5,000 square feet space in Pondicherry, in a village, where one can come and experience, and you all are welcome. We can have few shots also of MODS, and and everybody is a contributor, so you can also contribute.
Yeah. Thank you. This brings us to the end of this episode and the end of this season. We will come back to you with more seasons where we unpack everything that's happening in the digital world and also talk to different experts. This season really began as a journey to understand why the internet penetrated our lives and in what ways. And hopefully, the lessons that we've learned will be something that all of us can take forward. Thank you very much.